Hello everybody. Welcome to Automate Data Analytics with Panoply and Amazon Web Services. My name is Stephen Main, and I'm a Partner Solutions Architect for Amazon Web Services. And I'm going to be your host and moderator for today's presentation. When you join today's webinar, you selected to join either by phone call or with your computer audio. If for any reason you'd like to change your audio selection, you can do so by accessing your audio pane in the control panel. From this control panel, you also have the opportunity to submit questions to the presenters today by typing in your questions into that questions panel. At the end of the presentation, we're going to have a Q&A session where we'll be able to collect those questions and address as many as we can. Also, at the end of today's event is a brief survey. If you'll stay connected until the end of the broadcast and submit your feedback, we can take that and learn how to improve for any future broadcasts. The last thing is that the PowerPoint presentation is going to be available through SlideShare, along with a recording of this webinar, which will be on YouTube. And we'll send those links out to you in an email, which will be sent 2 or 3 days after the conclusion of this event. So keep an eye out for a follow-up email that'll be sent to the address that you provided. Once again, I want to welcome you all to this webinar, this live webinar, Automate Data Analytics with Panoply and Amazon Web Services. So like I said, my name's Stephen Main, and I'm a Partner Solutions Architect with Amazon Web Services. And we're going to have a few items and key learnings that we're going to go over today. The first one is just going to be generally about data and analytics at Amazon Web Services. The next one is going to be learning about Panoply, which is an all-in-one data platform. And then finally, we're going to hear a presentation about unlocking actionable data and data insights with the Motorsport Network, using some of these technologies that we mentioned before. Remember to always feel free to post questions in that questions section of your control panel. And as the presentation's going, we'll be reviewing those and then ultimately answering them at the end of the presentation. So in addition to hearing from me, we're also going to be hearing from Jason Harris, who's an evangelist at Panoply. And we're also going to be hearing from Audrin de Valbray, and he's a data and insights director at the Motorsport Network. So to get started, I'm going to, sorry, there's the introduction information. Here are the speakers, as I mentioned, so myself, Jason Harris, and Audrin. I want to get us started by talking about AWS as a platform and some of the important strategies and reasons that we talk about building a modern data warehouse. Analytics and the analytic needs of organizations have evolved a lot over the past years. And at the end of the day, what we've been able to realize is that data is more valuable now than ever before. And organizations that are able to create business value from their data are able to outperform their peers. We've also learned that the data and data world is just getting more complicated. There's more producers of data, there's more ways that we want to consume data, and there's more people that are using data in their day-to-day job than ever before. Traditionally, the old school database and data warehouses haven't been able to keep up with this change in the environment, this data environment. And so a lot of the data ends up getting to places where you can't get any insights or information from it. You can lose the flexibility to work with the analytics engines that you want to use. And also you're not able to make this data available to all of the new users that want access to it, that want to be able to analyze it, and want to be able to make decisions based off of it. And your choice of data warehouse affects more than just your data warehousing workloads. When we look at the types of data that our customers are having, often we find in the previous way of operating that they'll have different data silos, data that you cannot get any insights across from one to another, and data that basically stays in its individual lane, and you're not able to get a holistic sense of some of the activities that are happening in your company. And so whether that's structured data in a data warehouse or structured data, unstructured data in your data lake, or some combination, what we want to do is be able to get a more holistic view of everything that's going on. So Amazon Redshift is the fastest growing cloud data warehouse and the most popular one. And that is the data warehousing engine that is the basis of the AWS data lake environment. So this is how you're going to be getting great performance and the most out of that data that you have inside of your data lake when performing some of those traditional data warehousing queries and analysis. And every single day there are customers that are processing a total of 2 exabytes of data. And you can see some of our customers here, companies like Lyft, Scholastic, McDonald's. But in total, there's over 10,000 active customers using Amazon Redshift. And that allows Amazon Redshift, what's allowing us to have that growth is the performance that we're seeing. So up to 2 times faster than the second cloud data warehouse in terms of queries per hour. And what's really exciting here is 10 times faster than we were 2 years ago. And that increase in performance is not something that requires you to pay a bunch of money to get the newest, latest version. As we're making improvements to the service, we roll those out for our customers and they're available for them to take advantage of from the first moment. So if they update their Redshift, maybe during their basic maintenance window, then they can start seeing these performance gains right away. No new license is required, no new major software upgrade or any kind of migration of your data to the new style database. We're releasing these new features and enhancements and this additional performance, and we make it available to our customers right from the get-go. The other thing is our ability to be cost effective, saving up to 25% versus other cloud data warehouses, but also we're the only data warehouse that is allowing you to take advantage of reserved instance savings. And so once you understand your workload and you realize that you're going to be using a particular size or set of instances in a cluster, you can lock those in for a portion of time and see pretty dramatic increase in savings. And so you see some of the numbers on the right, some percentages and estimated budgets that we've seen customers be able to attain. The last thing is that Redshift integrates with your data lake. We're talking about having those data silos. And one of the keys about Redshift is, we talk about the ability to access data that's in our data lake. So whether that's quickly loading in that data in parallel from S3 or using something like Redshift Spectrum to access data that's directly in S3 without having to load it into your database, your data warehouse at all, Amazon and AWS is able to give you that holistic data lake strategy, and Redshift is a big piece of that. So with that being said, I want to hand over to Jason Harris, who's an evangelist at Panoply, to talk about the all-in-one data platform that is Panoply.
Hey, I appreciate the intro. Thank you so much. And we are super excited to be part of this presentation and glad that Motorsport is going to be giving us some great insight. But before we get to Motorsport, we wanted to talk about how Panoply, or what Panoply brings to the fold. Yes, Redshift is a proven data warehouse platform. Yes, it's fast and amazing and customers love it. Where Panoply comes in is Redshift for all its strengths, it does require management. And Panoply is a managed service built on top of Redshift and makes it so that your data is available, it's ingested, ready for analysis, and so that you can connect your BI tool or SQL Workbench and get the insights really, really fast. Okay, cool. I'm trying to advance the slides. That's all working now. Great. So we bring three things to the table that build on top of Redshift's amazing usability and speed. We bring the data ingestion engine. We automate the data warehouse maintenance and building, and then we make sure that your queries are optimized so that your BI tool or your SQL queries, and it doesn't matter if they are small queries, we're returning a small data set, or if it is a query that's super complex and spans millions of rows, we can scale and be sure that your results come back really, really fast. But before I get into some of the details about what makes Panoply a great offering, we can see on the right that Gartner named us a cool vendor a few months ago. So recognized us as one of the leading vendors in the data management space. And then we really love our users and our customers. And some of them have gone on to G2 Crowd and making us one of the highest performers in the data warehouse category. And we're super thankful. So if you've left us a review, thank you so much. If you are curious about what actual users are saying, beyond Audrin, who you'll hear from in a little bit, go on G2 and read the reviews. And then we are proud to be backed by some of the world's best venture capitalist firms who have given us trust. So this is a great visualization of what Panoply is. So on the left, you see data flowing in. And as Stephen had alluded to, the data is typically in silos. It's in a web app, it's in a proprietary database, it might be on-prem, it might be in a cloud app. No matter what the file structure is or the type of data, you can bring it into Panoply, which is built on top of Redshift. And then using those three components, the data ingestion engine, the automated data warehouse, and the query optimization engine, you can then be sure that your BI tool, whether it's Looker, Chartio, Tableau, Mode, Metabase, whatever, or a SQL Workbench, if you're more of a reports developer, you can connect it to Panoply natively and get the results in front of the people who you want to share them with. So let's talk about this data ingestion engine. As you can see, we have some of the icons of some of the data sources we work with, and I'll show you another slide that has even more here in a second. But you bring your data in, and it's made available right away. You don't have to wait days for the data to be ingested and then indexed and made available to query. It's available right away. And we work with unstructured and structured data, and your data is always up to date. You can schedule your data sources to refresh up to every hour. So you have one single source of truth for all of the organizations within your company or your team to get access to the data they need right now. And we do have a lot of integrations. We're super lucky to have native integrations to databases such as MySQL, Mongo, Postgres. We work with marketing platforms such as HubSpot, Marketo, YouTube, Twitter ads. So no matter what data source you're looking for, we have more than 100 data integrations. And then if you pair us with a data integration partner, that number goes to thousands of data sources. And so we have established that Redshift is a proven and loved data warehouse. We help automate all that maintenance so that you don't have to worry about optimizing your queries. We have really awesome things that are proprietary to us called materialized views, so that if we see that you're querying the same data over and over again, our AI engine will kick in and commit that data to memory, not to disk, so that those data are made available to you right away. we optimize our tables. We do things such as vacuuming and compression to be sure that your tables are always optimized. And again, we are fully automated for backups. We do full and incremental so that you don't have to worry about scheduling them. So enough about us talking about our platforms. Let's get to Audrin. So I'm really excited to introduce Audrin. He is the Data and Insights Director at Motorsport Network. I got to know Audrin a few months ago, and it's been great to see his story unfold about how data is changing how motorsport looks not only at their publications, but also how they're attracting customers and how their ad spend is going. So it's been fun to see. Initially there were some great insights provided, which he'll talk to. Then it's been fun to follow the story over the last few months of how data has, basically how motorsport has become a more data mature organization. So with that, Audrin, take it away.
Thank you very much, Jason. So yes, Motorsport Network, as its name suggests, is a network of different properties. We have over 40 properties in many different markets. We are a global organization. We have many different online media. We publish in 17 different languages, and it's either based on racing news or automotive. So we are a specialist media. We also sell ticketing, live events. We have an event called Motorsport International, which has over 100,000 visitors every year. And we sell game. You probably know NASCAR Hit, and we partner with the ACO, who's the organizer of the 24 Hours of Le Mans, to launch our own esports series called Le Mans Esports Series. So Motorsport Network generates over 330 million page views every month from 50 million unique users, 100 million sessions, and each user, for example, passes like 10 minutes per month on our different racing media platform. So as you can imagine, this generates a lot of data, and Motorsport Network decided to become data-driven not so long ago. And that's also because Motorsport Network is a fairly recent company, which acquired many businesses in only a few years. So like in 18 months or so, we acquired over 30 different properties, which make it challenging. For example, we had what we called the mega spreadsheet, which was, as the name suggests, a spreadsheet, but like huge one, which was generated manually by a person in the organization. And this person will basically just go in our 70 different Google Analytics accounts and copy and pasting data from each individual account. That took him around 2 weeks. And as you can imagine, that was not at a very deep level, so we couldn't be very granular with the data that we had, which means that decision making based on this data was poor, if not non-existent at all. Prone to human error. So when we started automated this, then we noticed that actually what we were seeing in the mega spreadsheet was wrong. And the thing is, that was just one side of the business, and as many other organizations, everything was basically like that. So if we wanted to know how many Facebook fans we've had, it was the same process. Twitter posts, how many did we do the previous month, was the same process. How much money did we generate from ads on our different platforms, same issue, and so on and so on and so on. So we started with a proof of concept around that mega spreadsheet, and the idea was that we needed to automate the process without needing an engineer, because one, our developers were busy doing other things, and we didn't want to invest into hiring a data engineer just yet, because I mean, the executive of the company at the time didn't really know what they could do with the data, or they were interested, but they wanted to see like something that's going to work and on which we will be able to take decision, or at least reduce the cost. Right, so that's when basically we decided to go with Panoply, and Panoply is great because it basically helped us to get up started and to realize that proof of concept without needing a data engineer. I am not myself a data scientist. I'm originally an entrepreneur, quite geeky, yeah, maybe, but I'm not a data scientist. So, and I didn't have the time, you know, to build dashboard in the BI tool and to gather requirements from all the different teams that we have in the network, on top of managing a Redshift server, nor upgrading it. What also was really helpful for the company was to know that it was based on Redshift. That, I mean, all of our websites were already running on AWS, and Redshift for our CEO at the time was meaningful because it was something that is safe. Can you change the slide, please? I don't know if that's... Thank you. So instead of just, you know, ingesting that traffic data, Panoply helped us to actually integrate nearly all of the data sources that we needed as a media organization. So emailing, social media, ads, GA, of course, but also the various spreadsheets that we have, or even the different databases. At the time, the reason we went and tried Panoply was one for Redshift, two for the data connectors. What we discovered then is that Panoply was actually more than that, and it's also helped on the speed of your queries, because it automatically materializes the query that you can make. So materialize mean like, think of it like it will basically store the information. The output of your query will be created as a smaller table, and that speeds things up. And it also compressed the data that you don't use, so it reduces actually your spend, your cost. So what the output of this proof of concept, what that the mega spreadsheet did not exist anymore. So we basically save money, and that's just one example of one of the spreadsheets that we have. So, and I think that's really important if you are trying to be more data driven, and you're starting with spreadsheets and basically nothing. One thing to convince your executive is to say, we'll start by saving you some money, because people will be able to do something else than just, you know, building reports manually. Everything that can be automated, you shouldn't do it manually. It helped us to go deeper into the data, and eventually the whole company became more data driven. And the approach is to say, basically, we don't know, let's stop taking assumption, because the data is showing us that we're not necessarily right, and actually often we were very wrong. The different actions that we took on subscription probably is one of the most interesting one. We've set up a meter wall, so a paywall, to push subscription. The idea was obviously to increase the money that we make, while trying not to reduce the page view, which generates money through advertisements. The editorial team now use dashboard in our BI tool, which is Chartio. For example, when we see that one article is working well in one edition, then we're able to act on it and to translate it into another edition in another language. And we know this article is going to work. We also able to see which kind of article are working, which article are not working, which race series interest more readers, which F1 driver generate the most page views, which one generate the most bounces or time on page, what is the preferred F1 team or NASCAR team of our readers, and that impacts the whole editorial strategy that we have at Motorsport Network. On the ticketing side, it was more like a funnel optimization. So data has a great impact on your product. We're trying to do that as well on our media platform by trying to increase the engagement of our readers and trying to push them to read another article once they've read one and to come back more often. Today, we've done all that in basically 1 year. And today we are moving towards other interesting stuff based on machine learning. We are going to implement our first propensity model in the nearest future, hopefully in the next 2 months. Content recommendation engine that should come early next year. So I'm ahead. Steven, if you can shoot for any question that you might have, listening.
Yeah. So I have a couple questions here. So one of the questions is what are 2 or 3 questions that were asked once you had more insight to your data? So I guess for motorsport, once you started getting additional insight into data, like what were some new questions that got asked and how did you answer them?
Okay. So for example, the more data you have, the more question you get. But that means that you begin to understand who your audience is and why things are happening. So as I said, in the mega spreadsheet, we just had the number of page views or session that we had, and we were able to see like months on months if we were doing if we were going up or down. And obviously the first question that raises, well, why are we going up or down? And then you look at traffic sources and you notice that maybe it's referral that's going down, but why is referral going down? And then you go deeper and then eventually you say, well, this is this traffic source. So sometimes it's quite obvious as a data person what it is. Other times it could be linked to other things and that will require an expert. Maybe it's because we didn't have a race. So the racing industry is highly seasonal, and the number of page views that we generate will also depend on the output of a race, if it was interesting or not, if there were any conflicts, any accidents, or if there were no race at all. And when you go to that level, the editorial level, then this is when really you need to provide the editor-in-chief with a dashboard that will enable him to understand which stories are working well or not. So I guess there are different levels, and the deeper you go, the more you need a specialist to answer the different why question that you might get.
Cool. There's a couple of questions here regarding machine learning and how these different technologies can help empower machine learning. Jason, do you want to talk at all about how Panoply can help enable your organization to tackle on that problem?
Yeah, so I don't know if the machine learning is referencing how we use machine learning to optimize data, but the machine learning that I know of, I was willing to dig into a more technical answer, or ask our CTO if any more detailed questions come in. But a lot of our machine learning is on the automation of data, so that if we do see the same same data like Audrey had alluded to. If we see the same data being queried, we materialize those views and make sure that they're have easy access. And then we do automate a lot of the ingestion so that we can be sure that the right data is being brought in and that it's being materialized and stored in a way that is conducive to fast BI solution. And then in terms of machine learning, there's actually another customer that I was talking to a few months ago that is bringing all of their data together. So they get about 40,000 sales leads a month, and they are using Panoply and by extension Redshift to bring in all their data from all of their email, all of their web traffic, and they're trying to learn like what the perfect lead for them looks like. So it's someone who opens their email really fast, clicks multiple links, someone who opens up a WhatsApp message really fast, and so they're using machine learning built on top of their data warehouse. So I thought that was a really cool use case in terms of not only collecting the data, but then doing something really cool. They developed their own proprietary algorithm to do lead qualification.
Yeah, I was gonna say something similar as far as AWS and Redshift, being able to use your data warehouse to do some pre-analysis on your data, and then basically load the output of whatever queries that you're running into a machine learning model using a service, maybe like SageMaker, that can empower you to kind of get the pipeline going from your raw data using Panoply, and then going all the way through the full machine learning pipeline. So I got one other question for the Motorsport team. How did you decide on Panoply?
Yeah, so so as I said previously, basically we didn't have a data engineer to begin with. There were nothing around data, and we needed something that will enable to connect the different data sources that we had very quickly in a safe manner. And I didn't want to manage a Redshift server because I didn't have to do that. So Panoply was a cost-effective solution that enable you to get most of the data sources that you need quickly without any coding skill and without having to manage your Redshift instance.
I have a question for you, Audrey. You have identified Chartio as your BI tool of choice. Curious to know how you settled on Chartio and how you find you're getting along with it, and then also how are your consumers of data inside Motorsport? How do they get along with it?
Interesting question. So I didn't decide on Chartio. At the time, it was a decision taken by the people who were creating those mega spreadsheets, because we wanted the company to be data driven and we wanted people to be able to self-serve. We are not at that point yet, unfortunately. It will happen, but for now, the data team is mainly building the dashboard, and the exploration of the data is made by the data team and not yet by the different departments of the organization, which hopefully in the future will happen. I guess this is the ultimate company which is ultimately very data driven should be at this stage, and it's not the case at the moment at Motorsport Network. The reason we chose Chartio is because we think it is a tool that enable every department to drill into the data more easily than any other tool. We also needed a SaaS tool, so something like Tableau didn't do the trick because of the client server thing, and that is not very helpful when you have a global organization. They are making progress, but Chartio is better at it. So I guess it's more like the ease of use of Chartio. Now, that being said, the other BI tool have a lot to offer as well. I like Tableau, I like Power BI, I like Looker and Periscope. They are all a bit different, but what matters is what you do with it in the end and the dashboard that you create for the end users. And they are all, in the end, competitors in that regard and should deliver pretty much the same thing in the end.
Great. Yeah, I've heard that. From quite a few people that Chartio wins for ease of use and kind of being the data OS. Like it's the layer that the data hungry people use to get access to it. So then one last question I have for you. What's next for Motorsport's journey down the data path, to get a little buzzwordy, but like, are you guys looking to bring new data sources in? Are you looking at data a different way? Just curious, like what do you see as maybe your end of year plan now and between now and the end of the year for data?
So machine learning, definitely. So as I said, we are at the moment building a propensity model for subscribers. So that means we are looking at subscribers' behavior using GA360 data, the raw data, just before they subscribed. And we look at current anonymous users or registered users on our platform behavior and model it to see if they have a propensity to buy or not. And that is being pushed to a subscription management tool called Piano that enables us to segment our audience and have some action based on that propensity model. Like an effect on the payroll or different emails that can be triggered, or even using our CDP, different ads campaign that can be created depending on that propensity score. The next big topic for machine learning for us is content recommendation engine, which means that we want to have blocks on our different media websites, which will be generated by machine learning depending on what the user like. So as a user, if you prefer Verstappen to Vettel, who are racing drivers in F1, then you may prefer to read stories around Verstappen. And so the content recommendation engine should present you those kind of articles. That has two effects. One, increase the number of page views that we generate, so the number of ads revenue that we can make, and obviously it also increases the engagement of the user and therefore their propensity to subscribe. So machine learning is one big topic, and then we also have a bit of work to do in the DMP, so data management platform side of things, where we still need to train our salespeople to use it in a better manner than we are doing at the moment. Like, we're not leveraging 100% of the product yet. As for the CDP as well, we are. So that's two other big subjects that we need to work on.
Great. Those are all the questions I had, Stephen.
All right, I got a couple more. I'll shoot at you.
Oh, great,
guys.
perfect.
So one of them is probably for Jason, and this is asking about support for enterprise databases like Oracle or SQL Server and integrating them as part of the environment. Does Panoply support that?
Anything, I want to say yes, but let me follow up with, let me follow up with the individual that asked that question. Absolutely.
Okay, cool. And then there was another question centering around some of the, you mentioned being able to improve performance using some of that machine learning on the Panoply platform. I'm curious, this question is about how does Panoply manage costs, and like, are some of these performance increases, does that turn into cost savings? Like, does Panoply also help manage costs, basically, is the question.
We help manage costs by having one price. We don't charge for the amount of queries. We charge on the amount of data being stored. So yeah, in terms of managing, and then another way we help is we have rockstar support. So if you have a scenario where you need to talk to one of our data architects, that's something that we that we help out with.
Yeah, and
I can testify that if you ask a question to Panoply support, you usually have an answer on the live chat in like 30 seconds.
And from a cost saving standpoint for Redshift, the better performance you're getting on your queries, the cheaper your cluster is going to be, because if you're able to get really good throughput, you could shrink your cluster or use different types of nodes. So having that ability to have queries that are optimized for you is going to help you ultimately save costs. So that's all the questions that I have in the chat. So I guess with that being said, thank you all for attending today's webinar. Please make sure to stay connected and complete that brief survey, which is at the conclusion. There's lots of great next steps here, ways to learn about AWS, ways to learn about data warehouse modernization and Panoply, and all these links and the slide deck are going to be sent in that follow-up email. So we look forward to hopefully seeing you all again. Thank you very much and have a great day.